so much for joining us today. Today's webinar is titled Complexity to Clarity, Overcoming Design and Coordination Challenges on Data Center Projects. Our special guest today is Roan Isaku from HED, an integrated design firm. And as you can see, this webinar is eligible for an AIA credit. You can go to the next slide. All right, some housekeeping items. Today's webinar is being recorded and the link with the recording will be sent tomorrow in the Zoom follow-up email to all registrants. As you can see, you can use the chat to engage with us as speakers and other attendees as well. Please use the Q&A box to submit your questions. We will be answering them towards the end. We also have some polls, so please participate live. And as I mentioned, this webinar is eligible for an AIA credit, so live attendees with an AIA number will get 1 learning unit elective credit. If you didn't include it in the registration, you can email me at s.guzman@revisto.com, and we will make sure you have this credit as well. Make sure to stay for the entire webinar in order to earn your credit. And lastly, if you want to keep up with any future webinars and events, please follow us at Revizto on LinkedIn. Thank you, David. So I'm going to introduce David now. So David has nearly 20 years of experience in the industry. He has extensive experience in construction and architecture, including all aspects of design from concept to closeout, and specializes in model visualization and rendering. His background also includes a master's in architecture and over a decade working as a project manager at various architecture firms. He also brings his real-life experience to the table to help firms better maximize tools like Revizto. And now to introduce our special guest, Roan Isaku. He's practice technology leader at HED. Roan has ample experience in the AEC field. He is well-versed in typologies ranging from residential, commercial, healthcare, industrial, science, education, data centers, which is about this webinar, and others. Since 2012, he shifted his career focus to the practice technology realm and corporate practice technology leader at HED. His responsibilities are many, but to boil it down to one thing, he helps design teams leverage technology to exceed clients' expectations. So now I'm going to pass it to David Ray so he can talk about Revizto.
Thanks very much, Stephanie. Let me change my slides. Yeah, so just a little bit about Revizto, what it's all about. We've termed it an integrated collaboration platform. So the main intent for Revizto is project coordination and really unifying the data. So both from a graphical standpoint, so bringing BIM models together along with the drawings. Excuse me, a lot of the project documentation can come into Revizto. Reporting dashboard is made seamless out of our web workspace. And some of the industries we cater to, so design firms such as HED, construction companies, and we're also starting to see an uptick in facilities management as well. Revizto is quite a versatile tool in that it's fully functional on a desktop, laptop, multiple ways to navigate around a BIM model. So we do bring in, a joystick kind of gaming controller into the fold. Works also on a tablet or phone device, so fully functional with or without a Wi-Fi connection or data coverage. And then we do have capabilities in VR and also via our phone app, the AR experience as well. And transparency, we really do our best to try to bring together the communication through the issue tracker and automate that coordination in that one, centralized platform. So I'll talk next on the shared data environment and what that means. So in this outer circle is a lot of the design and authoring tools that we're a plugin tool to, excuse me. And Revizto acts as the hub, so you can bring a lot of these file types together through the plugin that we have. So if you have a concept design model, for example, in Rhino, maybe that's starting to pick up into more of a construction documenting environment in Revit, right? You can bring those two together in Revizto and start to coordinate things. So we try to make that as seamless as possible. And then Revizto is not yet intended to be a common data environment. So we do have integrations into some other tools, or it makes more sense to have things maybe in Procore, for example. And then the graphic off to the right is really depicting how a lot of those different industries come together in Revizto. So either separately, right, you're able to bring the architecture models and construction documents into the Revizto environment along with the structural engineering team. They could bring it in separately, or that could be handled excuse me, as one model, and the rest would follow suit. So just to expand a little bit on our plugins. So this is sort of a comprehensive list up at the top of the various tools that we're a plugin to. Again, making that very seamless and easy to get data into Revizto. Some projects I've worked on in the past, right? You would save off a file type and you'd have to do some formatting and then import that into another tool. So we just try to make that as seamless as possible. Supported formats. So some of the file types that we're not really a plugin to, but are available for direct import into Revizto. So things like BCF files that would transfer issue data, OBJ models, recap files if you work with any point clouds, PDF data, IFC, FBX, and a few other as well. And then, yeah, integration. So we do integrate into ACC, BIM 360, Box, SharePoint, and others as well. So again, where it makes sense to house a lot of data in some of those tools, we do our best to integrate in, and you can bring, various data points in for coordination. And then some industry partners. So some tools we work really well with, Cupix, Gamma AR, and OpenSpace as well. All right, well, with that, I'll go ahead and stop and turn things over to Roan here.
All right, thank you, David. All right, well, first, let's start with a poll.
Great, thank you, Roan. So before Roan starts his presentation, we want to know, what do you think is the biggest challenge in designing data centers or other complex projects? All right, so we are seeing some movement. Awesome, it seems like team coordination and changing client needs are almost tied. All right, so I'm going to share the results. All right, so it seems like team coordination is one of the biggest challenges. In this case, Roan will explain how HED overcame them. So Roan, the floor is yours.
Right, yeah, I would agree that that's one, according to us, the main problem. Well, okay, let's get started. So we'll talk today about challenges on data center projects, specifically HED's Red Rum project. However, the things that we will cover here today would also be applicable for other project typologies. First, a little bit about HED. We are architects, engineers, and planners. We work across the United States, diverse backgrounds, ideas, experiences, and expertise with a singular mission that unites us. Advancing your world. Our promise that through positive impact of our design, our teams create exceptional and sustainable solutions for our clients, the community, and the world. The firm-wide vision at HED is to have is this positive impact, for clients, community, and the world through design excellence, and that we define as a solution built from thoughtful decision making that creates measurable, real-world positive impacts. Sustainability is inseparable from design excellence, according to us, as it significantly benefits what we refer to as the triple bottom line: social, economic, and environmental impacts of a project. The sweet spot in the center of this diagram is what we strive for. So positive social, economic, and environmental impact for our clients, as well as the larger community. how we work. There are three key principles for how we work. Critical thinking, the process of questioning, resolving, and making optimized, informed decisions that lead to cutting-edge outcomes. Integrated practice, emphasizing collaboration and the involvement of diverse expertise to create comprehensive solutions. And with design excellence, obviously, as the ultimate goal, focusing on creativity, on creating noteworthy designs that not only captivate the human spirit, but also deliver measurable results through the power of design. We have a lot of software tools at HED, right? I'll just say that. Not all projects use them all, but all projects use these. And this is what we start projects with, the core tools, as we call them. First off, the project execution plan, which isn't necessarily a specific tool. It's just a good practice for planning. That is where we establish how we will be using technology for the project. Then next up, wallboarding, and our cloud platform for that is a concept board. We work in the cloud in BIM 360 or ACC. All of our Revit work sharing is done there. It's very convenient for accommodating working from home. It's great at accommodating working with outside design partners. And for work sharing as well as file sharing. Revit is what we use for our BIM model authoring, period. No SketchUp, no AutoCAD, Revit. And then last but not least, Revizto. Revizto is used for reviewing and issue tracking and sort of communicating and collaborating over top of the 3D models or the sheets for the project. I always forget these transitions. Here we go. Okay. And then this diagram shows how we leverage Revizto, more specifically at HED, right? So in the red box, incidentally, David helped put this together. The clash detection, the issue tracking, and change management of items in the models and the projects, as well as approvals, model reviewing. It is all done in Revizto, in the Revizto platform. Every project at HED gets set up to have a Revizto. We'll kind of cover that later, and get set up to export on the schedule. Revizto is also great at accommodating design partners such as civil engineers, for example, or perhaps a furniture vendor that don't use Revit, that use AutoCAD. As you saw in David's slide from before, Revizto has an add-in for, I don't know, at least 40 different things out there. All right. We struggled a little bit, or at least we used to, or maybe still do, on Bluebeam versus Revizto, right? Revizto, well, I'll start with Bluebeam, right? So we have to use Bluebeam for PDF viewing and editing, or if we are required to, basically by a jurisdiction or a client. For everything else, we push Revizto, and we use Revizto for project reviews, milestone reviews, documentation reviews, ongoing sort of a model reviewing or sheet reviewing, tracking issues related to the model of the sheets, as well as the bottom two there, field activities, right? Punch lists and field reports. And Revizto has been a great partner, in helping us develop, field reports, a field report workflow. Let's see. So to help push Revizto, the practice technology team, which I'm a member of, administers Revizto kickoffs, right? So these are, secondary to the BIM kickoff or project kickoff, a week later or so, once the setup of Revizto has occurred and everyone has been invited, we kick off Revizto, we launch Revizto. The Red Rum projects, for those of you that may have seen The Shining, this is not murder spelled backwards. It happens to be the name of a horse who historically won the Grand National race 3 times in 1973, 74, and 77, which apparently is an unprecedented feat that makes this horse very famous and caused this street to be named after that horse, Red Rum Drive. This project consists of the demolition of an existing building, the one to the north there, and design of a new 200,000 square foot plus or minus data center. Some of the challenges, overall the site is very small, so every design move was heavily scrutinized in order to determine if it would work and fit. There were many visible and invisible constraints on the site, setbacks, easements, ordinances, other site requirements, which made meeting the project's design goals a challenge. The equipment yard, for example, was very small for the amount of equipment and routing of electrical cabling, underground as well as overheads to the electrical rooms. Stack generators were a challenge due to space limitations and height limits. Here's a perspective of the entrance to the building. The concept design that was approved by the county before we had fully engineered, it was approved before everything was figured out, basically. And so we were held to stay within what was approved within those limits, both for the site as well as for the architecture. This site, as you saw in the previous slide, is at the corner of that major intersection, which is also considered the gateway into Data Center Alley in Loudoun County, that part of the county has a very high concentration of data centers. Most of the internet traffic within the US passes through one of those buildings. And because of that prominent location, the building design had to be more than just a typical data center. Balancing costs, client expectations, level of the required, design that was needed, to meet and surpass, county approvals were significant challenges. Coordination across multiple disciplines using Revizto was done on a regular basis, continues to be done on a regular basis for visualizing the progress, not only for the design team internally, but also with the clients and stakeholders in weekly meetings. But let's see, and then tracking design issues and other issues. So the section tools, for example, in Revizto were used quite a bit in order to get inside the model quickly and identify challenge points and work through the solutions. Revizto is very good at handling both the 2D and the 3D part of a project, such as sheets as well as the 3D model with the sheet overlay tool, and that also got a bit of use. And I am saying this because I spoke with the project team, as I was putting this presentation together. These are the various stages in the design process for this data center building. The owner of the building is responsible for the initial construction, the shell and core. So foundations, the envelope structure. The building is then leased to a data center solution provider, and they are in charge of the interior fit out, as we've come to call it, right? So raised floors, mechanical systems, electrical systems, specialized for data centers. And then they in turn lease that space to tenants that will use the data center. And those tenants are responsible for the TFO, the tenant fit-out phase of the design. Yet another layer of customization based on their unique requirements and standards for handling data. So we've got three phases, 3 sets of stakeholders involved in this building: the developer, the data center operator, and the tenant. And for us at HED, that means 3 projects that need to function as one. And the BIM setup, as we'll see in the coming slides is driven by these requirements. So first off, we our project setup, we have to align with accounting. So we have 3 clients that have to get set up as 3 projects for billing and tracking time purposes. And that means 3 sets of Revit files. And as you might be able to count there quickly, with 5 discipline models per set. And all of those get interlinked together. The core and shell files will get linked into the IFO files because you're developing the IFO over top, with core and shell as context. The core and shell and IFO both get linked into the TFO as well as in reverse. So TFO gets linked into IFO, so you can refer to the TFO as you are developing the IFO, and also TFO and IFO you get linked back into core and shell. There's a lot of linking going on, and our preference for linking in Revit is to live link. So by default, all of our projects are live linked, and to accommodate that within the Autodesk cloud infrastructure in ACC, all of these 3 are on the same BIM 360 site, or I'm sorry, on the same ACC site. And then each model, so phase mapping is key, right? There are 3 phases per project per model. Phase mapping is key, and to minimize complications with phase mapping in Revit, each of the models, every single one of them, gets these phases. So existing phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Not all phases would contain, depending on what model that they are in, not all phases would contain any geometry, right? So, for example, in the TFO models, you wouldn't be modeling anything in core and shell and IFO phases, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. The message in the slides is about the significance of teamwork and open communication and proactive problem solving, which, by the way, that is our secret sauce at HED, right? We're more than just a multidisciplinary team. We are an integrated team. That's the key to our success, right? Which hinges on fluid, effortless communication and coordination, which is meant to go beyond the formal review activities, which I'll briefly cover later. It requires active participation from all of our team members that are on the project. If you see something wrong, flag it, report it, call the responsible person, escalate it to the project leadership, right, or create an issue in Revizto, right? But don't sit on it. A coordination failure in any discipline, any one discipline, affects the entire project. If one of us fails, all of us fail. Multidiscipline visibility is crucial, and our entire project ecosystem in Revit and Revizto is set up to support that and promote that. It all begins with access, right, to the Revizto. So everyone should be able to share the Revizto with additional team members. There shouldn't be any bottlenecks to this or obstacles for anyone to invite a new team member to a project. This is a screenshot from the project execution plan for the Red Rum project, by the way, that outlines who can get you access to it. So basically everybody. And every project at HED gets a Revizto, like I mentioned before, be it a large project, a small project, slow moving, fast moving, single discipline, multidiscipline, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is a screenshot from our project workspace where you can see that we have 427, like over 400 projects at various stages. And as part of the PT team, I get added to every single project, for maintenance and support purposes, but not everyone would be looking at that crazy number. Each Each active project gets exported to Revizto on a schedule. We have a series of workhorses, computers that sit in the server room, and their sole purpose is to publish Revit files to Revizto outside of working hours, right? So most projects get set up to export every other day, either Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, whatever sequence best aligns with their weekly meetings. However, there are fast-paced projects at the firm which require daily exports. And as of, I forget how long now, but the latest version of the Revizto export scheduler also allows for multiple schedules on the same workhorse. So you can export something more than twice a day if you had to. So whatever works best for the team, whatever best accommodates the project. The idea is that you can show up to work on your project, open up Revizto, and have an updated model and sheets to review. What gets exported or published? Our standard is to export each discipline model on its own. Even though everything is linked, into every model, each model only exports its own geometry. So each model has a designated export view. It's a 3D view in which all links are turned off. The very last phase of the model is set as the current phase, and the phase filter is set to show complete. Like many of you may know, Revit is a what you see is what you get kind of a tool, right? So what you see in the view in Revit is what you will get in Revizto. And teams may need to keep this view up to date, right? In case you add a new link, right? You'll have to go to the view and turn off the link, or in case you add a new phase to the project, right? You'll have to go to the view and set that phase as the current phase. Each model also comes with a sheet set, appropriately named current sheets and Revizto publish, which teams also have to manage as they add and remove sheets throughout the project's design cycle. If needed, teams can also publish the Revizto manually, right? So you don't have to wait for the scheduled export. If you're in a bind or in a rush, or for whatever reason, you can publish the Revizto on your own. And this is just a screenshot from our project execution plan that shows the settings to do that, right? So what view you're in, our primary discipline or lead discipline, usually architectural, also exports grids and rooms and areas, and the other disciplines don't have to, as well as these settings, down here, set to Revit PDF and sheet number and Revit file name. Let's see. This is a screenshot from Revizto's model management view, for the Red Rum project, just to show that each model gets exported, individually. You can also see here that one of the architectural models was published by Rob, right, as opposed to HEDPT, which is the workhorse account for Revizto. All right, and then once in Revizto, there are numerous ways to navigate. There's great documentation and instructional videos on Revizto's website for this. My personal preference is the map tool, which is what I clicked on to get to this screen. In here, you can set the level on the right side, level 1, level 2, level 3, and then navigate to a room or place in the project and double click and get teleported to that place, and then begin your review process. In this view here, you can see that the appliances and cabinets are set to be transparent so that you can see through them and confirm the presence, I guess, of power outlets, right, or receptacles. As a starting point for us at HED here, we have a consistent color template for all of our Revizto projects. Each discipline is given its own color, right? And yellow here obviously is electrical. You can see by the lights and the receptacles. And red, this little radiator here, is mechanical, and salmon is plumbing, etc., etc., etc. Just a quick warning that walking through a project can be a lot of fun. It's kind of like playing a video game, if you want to think of it like that. And create issues and review things, and but you should check with your teams first on progress. So, for example, in that previous view, if the electrical team had not completed the placement of power receptacles, right, they just weren't at that stage yet, it would not be very valuable, right, if I walked through and noted all the places where they were missing. Right? Yes, thank you. We know that they're missing because we have yet to place them. So plan your review activities for after the work that you are reviewing is completed, right? Or if you're seeking a review, let the team know once something is complete and ready to be looked at. We have a stamp for that, as a matter of fact. We'll get to that later. So this screenshot here is from our wallboard template, which we use, to plan the project, establish critical paths and things like that. And these are our formal review activities that project managers plan for. And these are performed in Revizto, and oftentimes get a report as a documentation that the review was performed. Stamps are our preferred method of issue creation. Each Revizto project comes with a stamp setup for clash prevention, which is this here, right? So you can walk through and visually interrogate the BIM model. This is our primary means of quality control at HED, right? Or quality assurance. Each discipline starts out with these 4 stamps, and each represents a category, an issue category. Right, so you could ask someone to check something, right? So check the position or the size or the orientation or the elevation of something. You can flag something that's missing and query, or ask a question about something, or flag items or areas that have been updated and are ready to be reviewed. So each stamp can have its own assignee. So, for example, the updated stamp could get assigned to a reviewer, for example, or questions, right? Could go to someone in the project leadership, or missing could be assigned to someone who is actively modeling for your discipline, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see, progress of each issue gets tracked in the issue tracker. So we can see here that this particular issue was created on the 23rd of July last year, was quickly resolved 2 days later. And right, so there's that. Another very, very nice thing is the switchback feature in Revizto, right? So Control-Shift-B is a very popular keyboard shortcut. You push that, and with Revit open on your other screen, and it creates a Revizto isometric view that with a 3D section box around that helps you locate the area where the issue is, so that you can immediately get to resolving it. So we have stamps for clash prevention as well as clash detection. Clash detection is, for quality control, just in case a team or project would benefit from it. All right, so let's say you've got a project with a very small atrium space, very tight constraints. It's a good way to check your work. And as far as clash detection, Revizto sets itself apart, in my opinion, here by making this process incredibly easy, very, very easy. So in this platform with this interface, each discipline is able to run their own clash tests and do their own, QC for the model. Once a test is run, each class or group gets reviewed. And once it is reviewed, it can get sent to the issue tracker. And there is a stamp obviously associated with it, as we saw before. So it would get automatically assigned to Matt in this case. And then Matt could open up Revizto with Revit on his other screen, Control-Shift-B, and get to work. And lastly, field activities. We also use Revizto for field activities. This is a punch list, not for the Red Rum project, it just isn't there, quite there yet, but for another project from last year, and that was the cover sheet. And this is a 102 sheet page PDF with, as you can see there, about 2 items per sheet, so 204 items, punch list items, that this architect walked the project for, right, with an iPad and Revizto, in 2D mode, set to a plan sheet, tapped on the plan to create an issue, took a photo, and then came back and produced that 102-page report. And this is a quote from Jack Bulow, who was that particular architect. And Jack, by the way, is a very senior designer here, very, very talented, but he is someone who I lovingly call, I guess, a person with gray hair, right? So I guess it's he's an old school kind of a person, right? Which speaks to the very low barrier of entry, in my opinion, to most of the tasks that you might perform in Revizto, right? So if you can use onion skin, you can do Revizto, I guess.
So, Roan, I wondered if you didn't mind if I chimed in here. You brought up a really interesting point about the quick, nimble graphics of Revizto and how you can just kind of get lost in that sense. And I think that's something maybe, in comparison to Revit and their 3D capabilities, Revizto is built on a gaming engine, right? So those just quick interactions with the BIM model. Anyway, I wanted to just chime in quickly. I thought that was a really interesting point, that, maybe do some pre-planning before you get into a coordination meeting, or the room by room review that you mentioned. So anyway, just didn't know if you wanted to expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, sort of sanction your gaming experience in Revizto, right? Kind of align it with the project needs, and yeah, there have been cases where some of our teams would feel that they were very productive with reviewing things in Revizto that just weren't ready to be reviewed yet. So, sort of unnecessary, basically. It may have been a lot of fun, but unnecessary. So we try to stay on top of it.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. So before we hop into the Q&A part, we want to launch the last poll. We want to know if you want to know about what you heard today, and if you're interested in Revizto or HED. So while you guys all respond to that poll, we can go ahead. We have one question. So in the chat, they added, I've been interested for a while in quantity takeoff. Is HED doing QTO with Revizto?
It's a great question. A negative, we are not, or at least not yet. I know that I have seen presentations where one can export Excel files, right, David, from Revizto, with quantity takeoffs, and but we currently do not. Yes,
yeah, through the selection inspector, you can. It does come with a CSV output, and I think Tesla and I have discussed this in the past. So yeah, I'd be happy to talk offline more about that. But yeah, so you can run searches. So very similar to how we can gather search sets in terms of clash detection. You can also use that same search set to have an output to gather a CSV file. And I think what's unique about Revizto is that, in comparison to Revit, you're kind of getting the Revit host file, where in Revizto, all of the data comes together, and you're able to easily extract from all of the models at once.
Great. We have two more questions. Does Revizto have VR or AR capabilities?
It does, yes. So let's see, does Revizto support fully immersive VR reviews? Yes, it does come with, so when you download Revizto, you have the main application, and then two apps, one for the Oculus and one for the Vive. We do fully support VR reviews as well. And yeah, I could expand on that a little bit. It does come with a camera share feature where you can actually have others follow you along as you do the VR walkthrough. But Roan, is HED do any VR?
No, at least not very much with Revizto. Not that we don't use VR, just Revizto, although it is incredibly lightweight, a lot of our VR walkthroughs or purposes for our VR walkthroughs benefit from a higher, I guess, rendering quality.
Mhm.
But I can't speak to Tiffany's question there. What kind of impact would it have on HED if you no longer had a Revizto? Well, that's a scary thought. Have you quantified ROI? Yeah, we have definitely quantified IOR, Tiffany, and so much so that through our latest contract with Revizto, none of our outside design partners need to pay for it. Like we pay for their Revizto through this last contract, right? Because that's how much value it adds to the communication and to the collaboration, processes of the project. That's how much time it saves.
Nice. I have another question. This is for Roan. On what other complex projects at HED have you found Revizto to be instrumental?
Well, easy answer there. I mean, all of them. Let's see, especially the complicated, sophisticated ones. So large projects with large lab planning components. Revizto is very helpful. Wherever we have outside design partners, it's extremely helpful. Really kind of shortens the feedback loop and reduces headaches and sort of laggy communications, which were in the past, for issue tracking purposes, which in the past may have been done with screenshots from Bluebeam that are marked up and then emailed back and forth. Does that answer your question?
Sure, thank you. We have another question in the chat. While developing the punch list report, how did HED show the location within the Revizto 3D model? Did HED use QR codes or issue links?
No, we have yet to do that. So the person that went out there for that particular punch list, or the people that do the punch lists at HED, are the architects and engineers that are actively working on the project. So they are very intimately familiar, with the layout of the project. So in Jack's case, he was, sort of going to this room or this hallway, panning to it on his iPad and pushing the button. But that is something that we are looking at leveraging more in the not too distant future, the QR code feature.
Awesome. And one last question before we finalize the webinar. What advice would you give to teams just starting to use Revizto on data centers or complex projects?
It's a view-only tool, so you can mess things up. So please try everything. Click on all the different buttons. and basically don't be afraid of it.
Okay, sounds good. So if anyone has any other question, if you want to go to the next slide, Roan, for me, please.
Yes.
Awesome. So you can follow them on LinkedIn or email them directly. And thank you everyone for joining today. And thank you, David. Thank you, Roan, for your participation. And have a great day, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.